Hi Cherries, it's Jessica here from A Cherry on Top, and welcome to our January YouTube Hop. Each month, at the beginning of the month, we have a YouTube Hop, so you can check out our YouTube video as well as our design team members' YouTube videos, and if you leave a comment on each of the videos, you will be entered to win a $10 ACOT gift card. So make sure to check out those other videos. There's always great inspiration along the way on these hops. And for today's project, I am making an altered book. I wanted to do something that had a lot of mixed media and layering. And then for my winter theme, I was thinking like snowfall in the night. So I'm starting by gessoing my book with black paint. I'm always on the lookout for old cheap books like this. This one I believe I got at a garage sale, but you can also find them at antique places or thrift stores. And I think these books look really cool when you put them on your bookshelf along with your other books that you have there. Before you even gesso, I like to wipe down my book with an alcohol wipe just to get off anything that might be there. And once my black gesso has dried, I am using some Jewel Effect paste. This is the Sparkling Onyx. This paste is so beautiful. I've been using it a ton. I'm almost out of my jar, but it's really nice. It's very shiny and gritty, so it looks great when you use it through a stencil. It can be a little bit tricky working on the rounded surfaces of these books, but just try your best. I am planning to layer a lot on top of this, so a lot of these snowflakes you won't even see at the end. It's more just for the texture, and then I am paying most close attention to the snowflakes around the outside edges because I think those will be the ones that'll be most visible. And while my paste is still wet, I wanted to add some chipboard. These are from Prima that I'm using, and I added some 3D gloss gel on the back side as well, and because my texture paste was still wet, I could just push it in and the paste helped hold it even more. This gloss gel also holds things really well. It takes a little bit long to dry, so you might want to use a heat gun. I used a heat gun a lot on this project, but like I said, it holds it really well, so I like to use it for that. When I am making a project like this, I almost always start with texture paste in the back, and then I always like using these chipboard. So those two things I usually keep with me, but then the other elements that I added, I was looking on our website, cherryontop.com, for other winter elements. So I look for plastic or metal. There's a lot of Prima elements that work great, like their gears, or I used some steampunk blades, but they actually look like snowflakes, so you'll see it, and it worked out. I also like using a lot of Tim Holtz elements. I had some of his snowflakes, his little metal adornment snowflakes, which are all over here, and then also found his mini icicles, which I thought would be perfect along the top edge of this, and then also some little metal frames, and then I just started gluing. I had kind of had a little bit of an idea what I wanted to do, and I think things like this, when you can get some overlapping elements, it makes it a lot more interesting. So I'm having a lot happen over my chipboard, and that main circle in the middle, that's where the most layering will be, but also my icicles layer over my chipboard. Again, to make this stick, I added a lot of the 3D gloss gel, and it is really thick, so it will take a while to dry, but like I said, it'll stick and it'll be clear, so it works perfectly for projects like this. I'm also using some art pebbles, these little clear circles, and I've been really liking using these lately. They add a fun little touch. They could be like some little snowdrops or snowflakes or snowballs. So all of these elements that I'm adding on now, I'm planning to paint over with the black gesso again. and then I'll be going back over it with blues and whites, and that's when the color will really come in. When painting over these, I'm trying not to cover up all of my snowflakes I have with the sparkling onyx in the background, because I really like their shininess, but I did want everything gessoed, so I ended up covering up quite a bit. The gesso step is really important because the paint would have a hard time sticking to all of these elements and eventually chip off if I didn't gesso it first. So I recommend either you use clear gesso or black, or there's white, so one of those should end up working for your project. Now I'm using some Art Alchemy paints. These are either metallic or sparkles paints, and they do have that little bit of shimmer in there, which is really great. I'm starting with the darkest color that I'm using, which is Midnight Sky, and then I painted over all of my elements really with this, and then I am watering it down to spread out the color a little bit. This way it can kind of look like it's a little bit more blended on my piece, so I'm just really watering it down and painting around the areas a little bit more. Next, I am using some liquid acrylic. I really like using liquid acrylics with this type of a project because you can water it down and the paint just goes on and stays really nicely. It's really easy to paint with. And this is the Persian blue. I wanted another tone of a darker blue, so this just adds a little bit more dimension, and this one is not sparkly and didn't have any of that shimmer in there, so I am using it more in the backgrounds or like behind the icicles, just so not everything on this piece is super sparkly. The next color I'm going for is the Magical Pond, which is a Sparks paint, and this one I am trying to just go over the top layers a bit more. So I'm not adding this paint to the underneath layers like I was with the blue. It's just going over my snowflakes, a little bit over the tops of the chipboard pieces here and there, and then I made sure to cover my icicles better with this paint because I wanted my icicles to be a lighter blue. Starting with your darker color and then working to your lighter shades is really what brings the dimension in this kind of piece, because really my pieces don't make it look that thick, and it needs that paint to help it bring that dimensional look to it. And now I just watered down that light blue paint, and I'm adding some speckles throughout this book page. This I think kind of looks like snowflakes, and it gives it a little bit of a maybe like a grungy look, so I always like to add the speckles. Although I don't have any elements really on my spine, I still wanted to add a little bit of the blue touches on there, so to do this I just watered down my paint and lightly went over it, and that way it has a little bit of that blue look. Now I'm going through with some white pearl paint. You can't really see, like, it doesn't add a lot of white, but it just gives it that little touch of shimmery white. So I'm adding that a lot through the icicles and then on the snowflakes. One of the final steps was to use one of the bigger art pebbles, and that fit perfectly inside of this little frame that I have on the front cover. So I printed out this compass. I was looking for a blue shade compass, so I'm using some matte medium to glue it to this art pebble. The ink, because I just printed it, the ink moved around a little bit on it, so you want to be careful, or if there's a piece of scrapbook paper or something like that that you already have, that would look great in here. And then again, I used a lot of the 3D gloss gel to stick it on in there, and it was thick, so it took a while to dry, but again, it holds it really well. And now I'm going through with some silver wax and just brushing on lightly using my finger onto the most raised edges. This gives it a little bit of a metallic look and a little bit of shimmer, as well as a lighter color, which I added the most of on the icicles to really lighten them up. I had a lot of fun with this project. I love making the books like this. Sometimes I'll take out the inside pages and turn it more into a sketchbook, and I'll do this by doing some book sewing and sew in some new sketchbook pages. But thanks for watching. I hope this inspired you to get out those mixed media things and get crafting and enjoy the rest of the hop.